All right, we're on with another episode of the show. I want to thank everyone. I want to thank all the sponsors. I want to give special thanks to every sponsor, Crossbreed Holsters, Riton Optics, Kenzies Optics, everybody out there that supports the show, especially Paula Morady, and all the folks that got like nice care packages out the last few weeks to not just me, a lot of the guys in the industry, making sure we were good and checking in. Head over to www.johnbartoloshow.com. Go check out some of the sponsors listed there. And please, please, please remember to leave a review on the show. I appreciate everyone. I thought it was important to get a guest on to talk a little training, talk a little bit about preparation, maybe talk a little bit about his journey. And, we'll get into obviously a little bit of the state of the situation. But this guy's making some big moves. I love what he's doing. He's promoting a training lifestyle, which everybody knows I love. We got the former SEAL, current SEAL, however you guys call yourself, Travis Kennedy. What's going on, brother?
Yeah, thanks, John. Thanks for having me. It's very happy to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, do you guys like the Marines, once a Marine, always a Marine, or is it once a SEAL, always a SEAL, right?
I guess you could say that, but we don't necessarily use those words.
So how did you get, you went through all your training. How did you get to this point where you were like, geez, I want to start this training company and live this life? I mean, what makes you want to do that? How'd you get to this point?
I mean, I guess as far as the business is concerned was when I got out last April. I moved back to California where I was born and raised. I always knew I wanted to end up back here, but honestly, it was one day out at the range. I was training some family friends, and it kind of just slapped me in the face. And I was like, I can do this. I could turn this into something big around here. There was really nothing kind of like it in the area where I'm at right now, and I just hit the ground running, John. I mean, it was just I always loved shooting, so it was kind of like put two and two together, passion for business.
Right. It's crazy, how most Navy SEALs or most guys who go through, they're either from the West Coast or the East Coast. You find that?
Oh, yeah.
Why is that?
Yeah, definitely. I don't know. I think it has to do with something just being close to the ocean, the water, and they just kind of gravitate towards, this piece of the military.
It's like Dom used to say to me, if you could be really used to the cold, you can do very well with it. I feel like the cold, something about being by the cold, salt air is something, I don't know. I don't know the secret formula, but I feel like what I've seen is most guys are either from like, I almost want to say Delaware North or Virginia North. And then it's like anybody from that Cali skateboarder background on the West Coast, and that's like the hotbed. I don't know why. Washington down, you know what I mean? I
totally agree.
Yeah, it's crazy. Do you ever I imagine that, it's like two sides of the dining room and lunch, like before recess. Like it's like you got the East Coast guys and the West Coast guys, right?
Yeah, there's always that kind of underlying rivalry right there, which coast is better.
It's pretty wild.
No, it is. It's weird. It's an interesting dynamic. I mean, at the end of the day, we all get along, but there's always that, that pissing contest of who's better. East Coast guys always, feel that they're better than the West because, just close to the damn neck.
Well, the East Coast guys definitely have the tougher crop. That doesn't make them better, but between Jocko, Dom, it's a tougher crowd. And when I say tough, I don't necessarily mean physically tough, just like grizzled, miserable,
I agree.
And that's how it goes. But the West Coast guys tend to be more skateboardery, relaxed, chill, laid back. But that's just in your blood if you're from either area,
Yeah, I totally agree. And I was on the West Coast team, but when I was an instructor out there, I was around nothing but West Coast guys. And you're right, totally hit it on the head with their personality. Just real laid back, just like the work mentality is a little different than the East Coast.
Totally. So you get into civilian life, so to speak, or at least what you can make of it. And I've had this talk with multiple people. It's very hard. You never adjust when you're at the level you guys were at. That's that being said, whether it's special operations or SEALs, there's no real civilian life per se. Am I right in saying that? Like
yeah, you're right.
You come home, but you still have a mindset that's been burned into your blood that you'll never lose. I mean, Jocko's not normal, So you know what I mean? Like you're not, and that's a good thing, right? Like it's an insanely hard work ethic, and you're getting into a field now, training, that is insanely packed, loaded with guys. Everybody has the biggest dick in the room. Everybody's this, everybody's that, right? So how do you sift through it and make sense of it? And what has it been like so far for you? Because I love that you're kind of new to it, but not new to training. You know, what sense do you make of it?
Yeah. I'm just kind of getting my foot in the door as far as the industry is concerned. Because before, I guess up until probably the last like month or two, I wasn't really kind of involved in the industry, so to speak. I didn't really know any of the players in it, what they were doing. I didn't have really many connections. I was just kind of doing my thing around the local area, just training, just focusing on that. But there is a lot of BS out there and a lot of, of misinformation, what I feel out there on the internet, what people are offering. Seems to be oversaturated with stuff like that. But there are a lot of guys out there that put out good stuff who have credible backgrounds. And that's what's most important to me.
Yeah, I think everybody, the most overused word in the business is background, right? And it just, to me, Travis, it depends on, and I've trained all over with all kinds. It's one of the blessings of what my job was for so many years. But I look at it like this. I don't care, if you were the tip of the spear to the bottom. Teach and coach to the level that you feel you can deliver the best and most honest and fair information. You see guys that teach to the bottom of the pyramid, they're doing basic pistol fundamentals, and that's great. And a lot of people can get away with doing that. To me, you start to lose me when you start getting into tactics and certain things, and you don't have that tactical proficiency, moving and shooting and getting into those types of things. That's where I start to part ways with guys in terms of like the Instagram warriors and all that crap and the studio gangsters. Where do you sit on it?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. A lot of people misadvertise their capabilities.
They're coming
what
for
they
you.
want to teach. Yeah. Sorry, it's fucking a lot of cops out lately.
Of course.
But yeah, I mean, a lot of people, misadvertise. They're those IG warriors that just promote the sexiness of the industry. That's kind of where I deter. And even with my own company, I don't even flaunt that stuff. I mean, my company kind of overarching theme is just to focus on the safety and fundamentals of, proper firearms use. Right.
No, and I think that's a good place to stay because that's what most people need, right? It's the bottom of the pyramid. Most people aren't gonna, like I see some guys out there, they're trying to do like full week long, like, insane courses. And I'm like, who's taking that?
Yeah.
I'm like, who, like I had one guy, he's going to remain nameless for a number of reasons, but like, oh, come take my week long course or whatever it is. And I'm like, why? I'm like, fuck, if it comes to that, I come on. Like, I'm not, I'm 39 years old. I'm like, I'm at the end of the line. I can't be, putting my body through that. I can barely get out of bed at this point. But it's, I think some guys either overdo it or underdo it. And I think it's about just having your basic curriculum, having your 1, 2, 3. And, obviously I've trained a lot. I've done Dom's courses. I've done Tony at Real World Tacticals course. I've done some of these guys' courses. I like a lot how Dom incorporates. He'll do blade techniques. He'll do some range stuff. I like that. I like how, Tony incorporates the different levels. If you get up to his level 3 or his Leo course that he offers for free, it's pretty intense. You know what I mean? It gets to like a SWAT level style course, but you graduate into that, and that's not for everybody. You know what I mean? And I think you have to have that little bit of separation. Like the 101s really are what's open to everyone. And I think guys get carried away and try to be everything and all things in one course,
Yeah, because that's what they feel that, the people who sign up want.
Yeah.
And
they want the
they want to cram that 20 pounds of crap in a 10-pound sack,
Yeah, you see the guys, you can tell right off the back who the first timers are. You see the guys show up with 30 pounds of shit on, and I've been on the range and I've RSO'd. I've never, for the record, to everyone out there that used to think or thinks that like I wanted to be an instructor, I was never an instructor, but I RSO'd a ton of courses. I would go around and tell guys, take that off, you don't need that.
Yeah.
This is just, you get a lot of guys that just, they have 90 pounds of gear on, and it's like, you're not going to want to have that on when it's 120 degrees in Miami, believe me. It's not going to be
because they think, a lot of people think they're going to Fallujah the next day when they go to these courses.
Yeah, they just want to put the costume on. They want to have the, Yeah. that's a lot of what it is. But, you know, it's weeding that out and creating an experience for people where they get the quality training, but they also get the opportunity to learn from somebody who is an SME, you know, who's a subject matter expert. I like to say, been there, done that, you know, had the experiences and can speak from those experiences and offer some nice insight into the do's and don'ts. But there's no absolutes. And the one other thing you lose me with instructors is when they start to talk in absolutes. You know, you have to start to think, in my opinion, out of the box in terms of every situation's different. And every mission's going to be different, whatever it is. And being over here now in the United States, the training obviously is different than what you would be trained to do overseas in so many ways. So you have to kind of augment that a little bit. And I'm sure you've gone through that, kind of adjusting and learning and figuring out, you know, certain things. It's not easy, but at the same time can be fun in so many ways. Getting out there and being able to participate with so many cool people week in and week out that you have to pinch yourself and say, this is my life.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
It's definitely, it's tons of fun.
You know,
it's tons of fun, especially when you start meeting new people. Like I'm starting to meet people I would never thought I would meet in my life, you know, and that's one of the kind of the luxuries of this as well.
Yeah, that's the beauty of instructing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the fun of instructing, and that's part of the fun with being able to participate in this great business. Now, since you've been in the business, I'm sure you've looked across social media with like a little bit of like, you know, who the fuck are these guys, right? You know, I talked with a lot of guys about this. What's your kind of your bullshit meter? Where are you like, okay, you lost me? Like, I just can't necessarily, I don't even want to say follow this guy because it's tacky, but like, where do people lose you? Is it like the shoot fast guys? Is it, you know, the guys that are like, you know, trying to give away the secrets in videos? Where do they lose you?
I mean, some guys, when they start going on tangents, talking tactics, because I don't really feel that, especially guys who really don't have the background to even talk about that stuff, because you go down some rabbit hole.
Right.
So I don't really like that about debating tactics. But a lot of the flashy kind of IG warriors kind of put a little bad taste in my mouth because they're not really teaching anyone anything that's tangible or that's real. I mean, it looks sexy on the videos. Don't get me wrong. It is entertaining. However, you know, sometimes it just kind of bothers me because especially with people who have a lot of following, these people are looking at you and like, okay, I want to do this. You know, it's not really giving a realistic expectation. You know, how I feel, what these people need to learn. Right. They can obviously get there, but it's not really realistic. Majority of the people who follow them, and I get it all the time. They come ask me like, hey, I want to do this and that, and it's mainly like the advanced stuff. It's the stuff they see on these videos. You know, they're like, I want to shoot and move, and right. I'm like, well, you don't even know how to shoot. You know, your own gun, just kind of the basics right now. Let's focus on that.
Do you ever kind of have you ever had to call a guy out?
I typically, I don't.
Yeah. You just stay away from it.
I steer clear from that, kind of online kind of battle. I don't even deal with it.
Is it something?
There's way too many trolls out there.
Yeah. Is it something where you just have that ability to just turn it off? Because some guys can't.
Yeah, I kind of like out of sight, out of mind for me. I'll see it. You know, I even see it on my stuff. You know, I see the shit talkers on, you know, social media, YouTube and stuff like that. And I look at it and it does fucking bother me, you know, to be honest, John, but I don't even get into it.
You just
know exactly what these people, yeah.
You got to kind of put the blinders on and stay away from it in so many ways.
It leads down to never-ending path. I don't even want to deal with it.
Now, when you got into the business and training and getting out, putting yourself out there, did you come across people that want to sit around the campfire and just hear the stories and they don't realize that you're really trying to start a legitimate training company? Because some people just are in it for the stories, right? Like and that's always something to overcome too. Like they just want to come around. It's like, they think it's like campfire stories with Travis, right?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I would say like I get it all the time. Actually, people want to just come do a lesson, just to come hang out with me. I sit around and hear my war stories and shoot the shit. So, but it's really, I noticed it almost immediately just because based on their mannerisms and what they're asking me and stuff like that. But I'm better now than I was when I first started out, kind of sift through that stuff. Not to say that's anything wrong with it, I want to, but there's a limit to how I can deal with stuff like that.
Right. Now, the business is crazy. What's kind of the number one thing you were like shocked by being in the firearms training business, the SHOT Show crowd, and what's like what's your high and low? What did, when you came into it, you had to be like, oh my God, I can't believe it's like this. I always say like the culture of kind of like eat your own is so bad in the firearms business. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But what shocked you when you got into it?
I guess just how flashy it is in certain aspects.
Studio gangsters?
Yeah. I wasn't, even when I was active duty, I wasn't following it at all. I was maybe a couple guys, but then now that I'm kind of inundated and saturated with it, I notice it more often, and I purposely kind of follow these people. But yeah, just how flashy it is, and it's just how exactly studio gangsters and how the industry is promoted. Just I don't know how I feel about it. I mean, I like it because I like certain aspects of it. How they put these videos and what people do, but I think sometimes it sends the wrong message to the consumers.
Yeah, it's insanely frustrating in so many ways, and I could peel back the layers on that for hours, but I think some of it you have to take with a grain of salt. I would say,
exactly.
You get frustrated when you start to see guys, the term trade secrets always comes to mind. There's been guys that put some stuff out there that I'm like, you have to be vetting on a certain level, who your audience is, and on social media you really can't do it. And I won't name the names of some instructors, but there's some that put some stuff out there. They start talking about shooting through drywall and penetration stuff, and you're kind of like, dude, like, you can't be putting this stuff out there. You're not vetting, where this is going, and you're giving too much. You should and I'm not talking about drills. You know what I mean? I'm talking about just ballistic techniques and just understanding what you can and can't put rounds through, and how to, make that something in your arsenal. And I'm trying not to give away too much of the soup myself, but there's just some guys put that stuff out there, and I'm like, are they fucking serious? Sometimes you're just like, should you be putting that out there in a public setting like that?
Yeah, that is a fine line, John. It is a fine line. Even for me, I always think about that. I'm like, is it too much or is it too little? You just don't really, it's just a fine line. It's like in the back of your mind is like, oh, maybe I shouldn't. And I even do it with my own business. And every person I train, I'm always talking to them first. I'm always feeling them out, even when I'm at the range. I'm like, maybe I'm not going to teach them this, because at the end of the day, most of these people don't need to know. It's just, you don't need to know certain skill sets. Even, to be honest with you, even certain drills, because they're more advanced drills, more of an offensive drill rather defensive drills. I kind of tend to go back on those things.
Now, did you get a chance to go to SHOT Show?
I did not this past year, no.
Yeah, well, good, because you'd be more miserable.
Actually, this next one, if it goes down or not, because it's an issue, but I do plan to go. I just want to be, I've never been to one, so I do want to experience it and take it all in. I hear mixed stories, obviously.
Now,
you got mixed feelings.
Now, when you look across the industry, who do you look at and who do you say, geez, I like what they're doing, or I dig their flavor? Because being kind of new to it, I'm always curious what guys coming in think.
So the guy around here in California I really like is Mike Levy. His name is Knockout Lights.
Okay.
On the social media.
Yeah, I know
he's
Mike.
Really good. Yeah, he's puts out great information. I love his stuff. It's very realistic, credible, and he's a great person, great instructor. And then another guy who mentored me is Sean Ryan. He started out doing the firearms thing. He's a friend of mine, and he mentored me, and he always puts out great information. So I always look up to people like that. Those are the two names that come to mind.
Sean does well on YouTube. I know that.
He's kind of steered clear. He's kind of steered away from the firearms industry. He started out in the beginning of his career. Now he does other things. But yeah, he mentored me, and always been kind of gave me realistic expectations of the industry.
Yeah, and that's something I'm working on. You know, I'm not gonna say I'm working on. I meant to say, you know, having conversations with people. Like I had Cheyenne Dalton on the other day. You know, I try to some of these, you know, studs. It's not gonna all happen for you in the firearms industry. You know, I ate total shit, Travis, when I first got into it for blending fitness and action sports into the genre with a lot of the media and the stuff that I did. But I had been influenced by Red Bull, Monster, different brands that I liked. And now as time's gone on, those things have become the norm because of guys like Pat McNamara, Tony Sentmanat at Real World Tactical, some of the different people, even Dom Rosso at Dynamis, you know, they've blended those worlds because I try to explain to people for so long, it's just being in the firearms business isn't enough. You have to blend the different communities. If you're not blending the different communities, it's not enough. Just like today, you know, I was having the conversation with Cheyenne the other day, and Jerry Mitchellek and I were talking about it. You can't just have an Instagram anymore and show up to a company and be like, well, I have 20,000 followers, you know, give me a free gun. Those days are over. It's that doesn't happen anymore. I'm going to be like, yeah, so, you know, what else do you have? You have to have more. You have to offer more, you know, not just as a person. You have to have your hand in so many different things now, whether it's having a good website, blog, you know, YouTube, whatever it is. You have to have your hand in so many different things. Some guys do the podcast route, you know, which I did. And, you know, you have to have so many different animals to feed. And I feel some guys think they're still going to get by on that approach of just taking the cool IG picture and boom, you know, da-da-da-da, like they think that's going to be the moment.
Yeah.
It's not going to work anymore, and you have to do more video.
Oh, yeah. It's all video.
100%.
You have to add value, too. Not just putting out just cool videos all the time. It's got to be people that something that the person can take away, you know, as well.
Now, in so many ways, the business becomes, as you know, such a dick measuring contest. It's, you know, who's this, who's that. As I said in the beginning, the most overused word is background, and it's the most overblown thing. And in the instructing world, it's even worse. It's so bad. And I try to explain to people very rationally, having a solid background with formal training is great and it's tremendously helpful, but it's not going to be the be it end all. I've seen guys get on social media and do these rants like, oh, I can't wait till, you know, my 97 buddies who are in special operations get back and they're going to put all these instructors out of business. And I think you know what I'm talking about. And I'm like, and even multiple people have said to me after seeing these types of rants, I'm like, do they disregard that you have to run a business, which is what you're learning? You know, you have to market a business, and having the greatest background in the world doesn't guarantee you the best business. You know, what do you say about that?
It also doesn't make you a great teacher as well. Like, I know plenty. It does not make you a good teacher at all. Like, I'm a huge proponent of that as well. Because I worked with studs. I worked with fucking, you know, the cream of the crop in the military who were great shooters, but they couldn't teach someone, you know, to do that to save their life. So exactly. I don't like that. You can't just say that as majority, because not everyone can do, like you said, run a business or teach. They might be the best shot ever, but they can't teach anybody how to properly do it. You know, teaching is definitely a skill. Working with others, communication.
It's a calling.
It's like, that's a whole nother skill set in of itself. You know, just because, you know, someone's a tier 1 operator is not going to make them a great instructor. That's just my opinion. I mean, I can't say that. Maybe most of the dudes will be pretty good at it, but exactly like you said, it needs to be a calling. They need to be passionate about teaching and dealing with others as well. Yeah, because that's a whole nother fucking game.
Yeah, you have to be able to market. You have to be able to manage your books. You have to be able to run a business. And I, you know, it's almost insulting when guys give those rants, because I'm like, do you disregard what it means to run a business? I'm like, you look at what guys like Dom have built, what you're building, what Rich Graham has built, certain guys I could name,
Yeah.
even Sean Matson out there. And, you look at with what he's done, not necessarily on the instructing side. And I'm like, you got to be able to run a business, dude. Like that's assuming everybody who graduates BUDS or special operations instantly has a MBA.
Yeah.
It's almost insulting towards you. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, what? That doesn't necessarily mean that. I mean, they might be some of the best and most proficient warriors, but I look at guys and I say, you're in a world now, and that's where the difficulty to adjust comes in. And that's what I want to get at, Travis. And this is something I talked with Andy about it. Like, some guys, they get off the boat and they're able to adjust quickly. And there's a lot of guys who are either 20 years law enforcement or came out of very high special operations groups or high level training, Rangers and above, and they have a hard time adjusting. And somebody explained it to me once years ago, and they said, John, it's because those guys get treated like gods, and when they're overseas or when they're in their 15th, 16th, 17th year of law enforcement and they have some stripes or some bars, and now they're in the regular world and they have a hard time. How did you do it? What was your secret?
Yeah, it was just like with anything. Like, before I got out, I thought it was going to be the exception to the rule. I thought it was going to be no issues, have my stuff together, had a plan. Like any typical kind of, I would say, team guy, I thought about, let's go law enforcement route. I was going to plan on doing that, moving back and getting into that locally here. That didn't happen at all. So it was kind of stuck without a plan. Just mentally, it's just hard because when you come in here, especially in the city where I live in, where there's literally zero to no military presence, let alone special forces guys, it's hard to give off your skill, portray your skill sets in a way that can be beneficial to others. They don't understand. They just think that, oh, you're Navy SEAL, you war. Like, I've talked to many people, they would just jump to the conclusion, like, do you have PTSD? Like, random people I don't even know, they would just assume that, and they would tell it to my face. And I'm like, this is your perception of guys, from the military. So being able to communicate to others, like, your skills, what you offer, your value, was something I had to learn very quickly. And I honestly dabbled in a couple jobs when I first moved out here, but then it dawned on me to start my own business because I was like, I'm way more passionate to put my time, energy, and effort into something of my own than into something, in someone else's company. Sure. And that's kind of why I stepped aside and started my own thing, regardless if I'm like not making any money or no benefits whatsoever. Like, it seemed more worth it to me to do that.
Yeah, I mean, that makes total sense. Is that something that was burned into you as a kid, or do you feel like that came from the training before to kind of be your own master? I
think it had to do with just kind of who I am personally, and then as I developed throughout my career in the teams, it even kind of more so. So I was like, even with any guys in the military, like, I want to get it done my way. Sometimes, which can be a downfall sometimes. However, but I felt initially with this business thing, I was like, I want to do my own thing, be my own boss for once, and just see how it goes.
Yeah, because I feel like that is a SEAL thing. Like, I feel like a lot of the guys, whether it's Ray or certain Cash Care or certain dudes, they have a mindset that they want to be their own boss. So I guess the one piece of the NBA puzzle that some of them, leave with is, I don't want to serve a master,
Yeah.
And I think, being a guy who played, football for a lot of years in at a decent level, when I said to somebody very rationally, when they said to me, so when I got out of college, I went to the academy, but at the same time, somebody said to me, well, why didn't you, I got one of those one time, why didn't you join the military? And I said, when I was 18, I got a piece of paper put in front of me to go play sports. I went and played sports. I mean, fuck me. I don't know. And I said, that was kind of what I did. And I said, then I went to the academy, and I had said after college, this was, and I want to get your thoughts on this. I said, I just don't want to be told when to eat and where to go anymore. And then I signed up for the academy, which I went through it all again to be told when to eat and where to go. But that was like my honest answer. I said I just didn't want to be told anymore, when I could eat and when I couldn't eat, and where I had to go and what I had to do 24 hours a day. I kind of got sick of that, and then I signed up to do that again for 12 hours a day. So, it's so you go through that. And I think it kind of, I don't want to say burns you out, but it conditions you. You're conditioning. You have a regimented life. Like I probably, like you, like most people, you could hold a watch to my schedule.
Yeah. I live in a life of like the servitude,
Mm-hmm.
Just exactly someone telling you where to be, when to be, what gear to have. So it's just, you build that hard, that routine lifestyle. And then like that comes to an abrupt end. And then now you're kind of like, that's what guys struggle too. And even with the special forces community across all branches, they step in the real world. You're right. They are treated like gods. I mean, they are the tip of the spear in their respective branches. And then when they come out here, no one gives a shit.
Mm-hmm.
No one hardly even know, they know what it is. They know the name, they hear the name on TV, movies, etc. But to them, it's like, okay, what do you bring to the table? That's what the civilian life is. It's cutthroat. Like, how are you going to add value to me? I don't care if you're good at like shooting or whatever, you need to bring other skill sets to the table. And I learned that quickly just by talking to people, applying to certain jobs, and not even getting hired, just kind of going through the same old submit a resume type gig. And I was just like, this is brutal. It was painful.
Oh yeah. It's painful now. But for the most part, it's, you learn quickly what you don't want to do, which is the most important, right?
Yeah.
And I think once you figure out, I tell people that all the time, I say, you need to figure out what you don't want to do. And once you figure out what you don't want to do, then what you want to do will take shape, will start to, play out in front of you. So I think it's a little bit of both things, of finding what you want to do is the hardest part.
Yeah.
Figuring out what you don't want to do is the easy part. So it's never easy to be on that side of life where you haven't found your niche or niche, whatever you want to call it, into whether it's instructing, whether it's working on the executive side, whether it's whatever, slinging trash, doesn't matter. The easier thing is finding out what you don't want. And
that's the hardest part. That's the hardest part for guys. Just kind of honing that in.
Mm-hmm. And I think for you, finding it as quickly as you did is a blessing. And even I tell guys, now I say it's okay to not know for a while. And it's okay to just kind of go through, I don't want to say the motions, but go through the motions while being productive. Maybe you go and you do Muay Thai for a few years. Maybe you do jiu-jitsu. Maybe, you do CrossFit,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is. It's okay to have a year or two where you're just kind of figuring it out. And some guys, that's where I feel, I know Andy Stump doesn't believe in PTSD, calls it something else, but that's where I feel some guys, they feel they have to have the answer now.
Yeah.
You don't have to have it now. Take your time. Let the game play out in front of you.
Yeah, I felt that. I feel that it's that urge of having to want to do something, to have something, solid. Because you're coming from working for Uncle Sam, which is a solid career. Everything's locked in, and there's so much uncertainty when you get out, and it's just that feeling, that uneasy feeling of not having anything to kind of attach yourself to.
Yeah, because you want to be a part of a team, and you go through that when you play team sports at a high level. You want to be a part of a huddle. Somebody asked me a long time ago. You deal with the shit talkers, and I just, and you look at different people out there. You just have to find your huddle. And people say circle, huddle, whatever it is. And I guess I boiled it down to this. There's guys that have been in the huddle, and there's guys that haven't. I don't care if you're a frickin' security guard. If you've had some level of formal training, you get it a little bit, okay? Mm-hmm. You understand it a little bit. And that could include high-level sports, what I call high-speed anything. And if you layer on top of that something like basic training or even an academy or anything else, you get it for a second. Like, I was someone who gravitated towards the executive side of the firearms business because I had years of schooling and loved business and loved that side of it. I'd worked in banking. I had graduated the academy. So I had a little bit of kind of everything woven in there. But I also knew my limitations on all sides at all times. And I think that's the hardest thing in the world. What I've found is I'm very secure in who I am and what I'm about. And I think the hardest thing is, being secure in who you are, and understanding what you want to be. And I think once you figure those three things out, that's the key. But I think that's where the struggle comes in for some guys. You know what I mean, Travis? Like they don't have, they maybe have one of the three, maybe have two, but they can't figure it all out, And I'm not saying I have it all figured out. I mean, shit. But at the same time, you got to have, if you have two of the three, you're playing with the house's money at that point. You're kind of good. Know what you are.
You're doing well.
Yeah, know where you are, adjust to that, and figure out kind of along the way what you want to be. And I think that's where the angst comes in, like the bite down, like like I have to figure this out now and I need all the answers. You don't need all the answers.
I like how you said that. It's like the guys fall short is where the exploring part is, finding out who they want to be, what they want to do. Is they immediately, and I almost fell victim to this, just rushing into something like, rushing into, let me just do contracting overseas.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because
that's the easy one.
That's like the go-to, it's easy button, guaranteed job, money, etc. It's very familiar. Just that exploratory phase is like, I like how you said it. Just the guys, that's where people, I could see it now, is where they fall short. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've been lucky because of the role I've played. I've been not a mentor, but I've been able to have a lot of deep dive conversations with a lot of these guys, and I start to understand it a little bit better. And the guys that have explained it to me have helped kind of shape my view on a lot of it, because working with the companies I've worked with through the years, I've had to be the go-between between guys like you and some of the executives and, guys that, they respect me enough to kind of let me kind of translate and have conversations. And it's just, I get it from both sides, and I'm always constantly trying to explain to folks like, listen, I get that you have 17 bronze medals, but and 17 silver stars, but the reality is this is a business. I have to translate what you're telling me into something that nets out something for the brand or something that makes sense for the company. What are you, it's not just because you were that I can get, we can get you this. It's what's the, that's the hardest part, honestly, is explaining, what's the trade, what's the quid pro quo, like what are you doing and what are you going to get them, and then the easy one everyone always says, well, research. I'm like, do you know that, and this now because you're home and you see it, you're indoctrinated. These companies have 5 of you,
Exactly.
So what's your differentiator? How do you set yourself apart? And how do you make yourself different? It's not necessarily like applying for a job, but when you're looking for sponsorship or support from the brands, what's going to be your commodity?
Yeah, it's like, how are you different than the other soft guy out there? And there's a lot.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot. And I think, it's quieting down because we're not involved in as many conflicts. And I think it's going to settle down a little bit. And I think some guys will get out of the business, especially post-corona. And some guys will stay in the business for the long haul. You're coming into it at a unique time where you have some time, to kind of let things fizzle out. And I always say this, some businesses, and this is one of those businesses, they're wars of attrition. If you survive long enough, you'll find yourself in a really good spot. And you look at guys like Larry Vickers, you look at guys out there like Travis Haley, they've hung around long enough that their opportunities have presented themselves and they've done well. And they've also done a great job marketing themselves because they figured that out quickly.
No, I totally agree. Yeah, that cutthroat industry is like, who's willing to put in that work, Yeah,
I mean, if you
get weeded out fast.
Yeah, if you outwork people, you'll find yourself on the receiving end of good stuff. How is this Corona thing going to affect instructors, in your opinion?
I think it's with the logistics aspect of the ranges. I mean, if you have your own range, then maybe you could kind of skirt the shutdowns of, not exceeding 10 people or whatever your governor set for your respective state. But for someone like myself, for the example is, I can't use the range that I train at. It's shut down because of this. The government shut down our state right now. So I can't conduct training. So that's obviously I can't take people to train, which is affecting my business.
Right.
And I hope going forward, this only lasts for a certain period of time. I'm hoping, I have high hopes of only lasting for 2 weeks, at least for the shutdown at least. But, if it goes on any further as far as even the entire summer, which I heard, some people are talking, that's going to have quite an impact on my business and other people in the industry as well.
Yeah, in some instructors in the warmer climates that usually shut down for a couple weeks, end of July, early August, when it gets ridiculously hot, they're going to have to teach through that to make up for the loss in the spring, because you get into like April 1, that kind of kicks off instructing season in so many ways, So it's, we're getting to the nitty gritty, like April 1, April 15th kind of kicks off that instructing time. So it's going to be kind of hunker down, like you said. The good thing is in our business is it's doing so well. I mean, have we ever seen anything like this?
Exactly.
Yeah. So we're in a unique time in that sense, where we've never seen something like this.
This industry is a good thing about it. It's so resilient. No matter what, there's always a huge kind of support group and following that this industry is never going to die. If anything, it's going to get stronger. And, prime example, what's going on now. I mean, people, I feel like it kind of ebbs and flows with kind of these economic events or these world events, especially with, the 2A community and the respective gun owners. So yeah, time like now is, we could see it significantly.
Right. It's crazier in California, is it not? I mean, are you seeing?
Oh my God!
I'm sure you have tons of buddies in the gun shops. You getting those first time liberals and folks that are like, why can't I take the gun home now? I don't get it.
I mean, people are rushing to every single gun store, ammo store in the city. I mean, all around. You cannot get ammo. You cannot get guns. Everything's sold out. There's lines around the building. They're only letting 2-3 people in the shop at a time. Thank God that gun stores are quote unquote considered essential businesses. So they can get around that and they remain open. But yeah, it's the mad dash to just like with the toilet paper, the mad dash to the guns and the ammo is huge right now.
Yeah, it's kind of wild. This has never been seen. It's never been seen. This is something that's totally new.
Not to this scale.
Not to this scale. People say, oh, what about Sandy Hook and what about this and what about that? And I say the same thing all the time. I'm like, we've never seen this. I've talked to, and I'm sure you have on different sides of the industry, but I've talked to some key executives at companies, and they're literally like, these are big companies too. They're like, John, our shelves are bare. We can't get the stuff out of the warehouse fast enough. And we're praying we can continue to capitalize on this. One of the things I brought up is this could set us up for the next 3 to 5 years. Now, what I say to a lot of the FFL owners and folks out there is my hope is that they're smart with this influx of money. They use their purchasing power wisely. They're smart enough to continue to market themselves and set themselves up, because I've heard so many stories the last few days of like, I was closing my doors in 3 months and thank God this happened. Or, I don't know what to buy next. I mean, I don't want to overbuy. I don't want to underbuy, and I just say the same thing. I said, look, your profits, you should be putting 20 to 25% back into your brand and back into your company, because, at the end of the day, that stuff on the shelf that you sold during this saved you. And you need to think accordingly. You want your profits to jump. You want your revenue to jump. You need to put a little more rev back into this and understand that you may sit on this stuff for a little while, but I think this wave is going to go till the end of the year, because you're going to stem right into the election season.
Oh, no doubt. And just people's heightened awareness now more than ever. I think just want to be prepared, ready, the state of readiness. Not only for themselves but their family, friends, etc. Like, I think this is just going to set the tone for a whole new kind of mentality for people.
And the real key, I hope, at least on a larger scale, and one of the reasons I have the show is I hope that we're able to convert some of these customers into long-term clients and supporters. I think the shift will occur in terms of the Second Amendment being the hill a lot of liberals want to die on, so to speak. I think that will change. I'm hoping that will evolve. And one of the things I brought up the other day with I think it was Jerry in Cheyenne is, for years, we've always respected the decision of Roe v. Wade on the right in terms of, abortion is there. We might be pro-life, but we respect that they have that as a decision. I'm hoping that they start to respect that the Second Amendment isn't just there for hunting and fishing. It's there to protect our rights. They say you can't have the first without the second, and so on and so forth. But I'm hoping that it stops becoming a hill they want to die on as a political ping pong ball.
Yeah, I agree. Same. I think the things will shift after this, and you can see it even now.
Yeah, and my big issue I've been vocal about lately has been, and I know you're new to it, with the NRA is, I said it, where's the NRA in this? Where's the NSSF in this? Why aren't they offering free online training to a lot of these new gun owners? Why aren't they opening, you know what I mean? This is a great time to be doing that. Why aren't they doing it?
I couldn't answer that. Yeah, that is something to think about.
We complain all the time.
Perfect time to do it.
Now's the perfect time to get out in front and say, well, everybody's home. I know a lot of people are influxing into purchases and everything else. We want to offer pistol safety, whatever it is.
Yeah, it could be anything. Just something people can take away from this, and they can. That'll just build the community even stronger.
Yeah. I mean, have you thought of, now that I bring that up, what are your thoughts on that?
Have I thought about doing it myself?
No, what do you think about the NRA doing something like that? Or do you think they're missing the opportunity?
I think they're missing the boat on that. They should. They increase more awareness for themselves and the industry as a whole. Because people are just, there's so many new gun owners right now, tons. There's people who have no clue, never even owned a gun in their life. Like, now's the time to strike with that. These people need that good education to set this path going forward. And again, that's just going to be good for our community as a whole. If they're properly educated and they're kind of in tune with the NRA, who is kind of the overarching leader in this, it just makes it stronger.
Yeah, I was very vocal about it. I did a post on LinkedIn about it. I'm like, where are they in this? Where are they? The NSSF is supposed to be helping FFL owners, business owners. Where are you right now?
Yeah, they're not giving any loans out to these local shops.
Where are your resources? Where's your help helping these guys order? We're helping them figure out and navigate this. It's just, I hate to be critical, and I know you're jumping into this business, head first, but you have to ask the question, right? Like, where are you in this? How about helping people pair with instructors? How about helping people, reach? Now's a great time to do reach out. Where are you in this? And I think it's a missed opportunity. I think it's a tremendous, especially for instructors and people, at the very least, your first page when you go to the NRA.com should be, new gun owners. We'd love to pair you with instructors. Hello.
That's like an easy no-brainer.
I know they offer the RSO course online. Why not open it up to Pistol 101? I know people say, like, well, how can you do that? It has to be on a range.
They have online training.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They already have it. So they don't need to reinvent the wheel.
And that's kind of one of my issues. Now, to everybody out there that's going through the panic and feeling they need to prep themselves, what advice do you give to them out there? I'm sure you've gotten 100 calls. Travis, what do I need? What should I go buy? What advice are you giving, guys?
Yeah, it's simple. When I'm thinking about just being prepared, I'm always thinking of food, water, shelter, how to stay warm, medical. My biggest thing is we don't need to stockpile hundreds of thousands of rounds. Definitely, I'm an advocate of having a weapon with ammo to protect yourself and your family. But think about the bigger picture as well. You know, in case something does go south, what do I need to survive? What creature comforts do I want in my bag? You know, how am I going to stay warm? If I get hurt, how am I going to treat my injuries? How am I going to eat non-perishable items? You know, wet wipes. How am I going to stay clean? How am I going to, you know, just things that people kind of miss the boat on. They don't even think twice about it. And they're so, you know, front sight focused on what they see online, the news, et cetera, that, you know, they fall short.
Yeah. I said to, I think we were talking about it the other day. I said to someone, I have a sarcastic sense of humor. So I give people kind of the surly answer. I said to someone the other day, I'm like, do you have 200 rounds? And they're like, yeah, why? I'm like, well, I mean, if you killed 200 zombies, you'd probably be one of the deadliest people in human history. So, you know, I think you'd be all right. Like, you know, and then I said to someone the other day, I go, if you don't have the mags and it gets to that point where you're 3 or 4 mag dumps deep, I said, I think you're dead. I don't think
you have other things to worry about.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to work out. So, you know, I suggest to people very rationally, go buy yourself you know, a tin barrel from Home Depot. Pretty much everything you need for 90 days can fit in there. I mean, you can fit sterno cans, ramen noodles, some lighter fluid, some charcoal to make a fire, and, you know, some road flares. Anything that makes fire is good, especially if you lose heat. And then I tell guys, like, look, you know, put an ammo can in there, you know, a Glock 19, and you're good. You know, have at least 50, 75 rounds. You're going to be pretty good. Now, if you think eventually you're going to go hunting or foraging, you probably need a 308 or a 6.5 at the very least. You don't have to have the greatest one in the world. Just go buy something from Remington or Savage, put it in there. And I said, you're going to be pretty good. I mean, you're going to be able to survive. Other than that, you know, if it doesn't fit in that can, you know, and you want to get really crazy, you need breaching tools and everything, then yeah, you could take it to that level. But, you know, don't get crazy, because unless you have that type of experience, and you got a family, don't go down that road. People get crazy.
Yeah.
What's the craziest request you've heard or call you've got? Somebody's like, Travis, I bought a tank, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I get things like, I'm stockpiling like 50,000 rounds, or I need these crazy, you know, just all these weapons. Like they have like a plethora of like, do I need a shotgun, rifle, long gun? What do I need? A machine gun? Like, no, like you don't need any of that stuff. And they kind of tote around of those things, just things to like protect themselves, not really like surviving.
Right.
Like that's just like a small piece of this whole big pie here, you know. So we need to. That's why I'm saying that they're so front side focused on just that. They don't look at the big picture, because that's just a small piece.
Yeah, it's it's you know, people they go down these rabbit holes of crossing the line from being prepared to being a prepper, right? And I think you know what I mean? They go down this rabbit hole, and you kind of, you feel yourself talking them off the ledge, but we all kind of are preppers at heart, and we all like gear and stuff like that. But we've seen people make 1,000 of the worst choices. You know, you brought up food, water, shelter, the basics, you know, having some stuff, you know. You don't want to make a career out of talking people off the ledge through this, but the reality is, I mean, I know people have called me and they're like, how do I get my hands on some vaccines? I'm like, we don't even know what the vaccine is yet. I'm like, if I had that, I'd be, you know, I wouldn't need to run around and hustle to make money. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Exactly.
I'm like, I'm listening to them and they're serious. And I'm like, you know, it's just, it's one of those things. You know,
it's hard to think about what's going through these individuals' minds. It's like, especially at a time like this, you know, the people that are rushing to the grocery store, rushing to the gun store, you know, it's just, who knows what they're thinking. It could be anything.
Did you ever in your mind think it would go from toilet paper to 9mm as quickly as it did?
No. Honestly, I didn't even understand. I missed the boat on this when the toilet paper thing, like, all of a sudden became so popular. But I know what it is now. I can't buy any. But I just don't understand. Like, that is what people are concerned about. If they're really concerned about saving their own life, like, that's the last thing. You know.
Yeah, I'm like, wipe your ass with a towel.
Anything. You can shower. You know, anything. So it's,
you know,
people who are really concerned about, you know, being prepared, you know, they need to think differently. That whole mindset's shifting with this whole situation.
Buy a bidet. I mean,
Yeah, we got a shower.
Yeah, I mean, go to do something like that. But it's gonna be interesting coming out of this. And the NRA show got canceled, and I think we're seeing,
I know, to go to that.
we're seeing some changes. I think the good thing is, as I said to many instructors and friends out there, is the industry is going to be flush. It's just going to be a matter of where they direct their funds and what they do and how they strategically handle not just their media, the folks coming out of this. And I really hope they capitalize. I hope the instructors do. Guys like yourself are able to get these people out to the range, create affordable packages. Like I was saying to a couple instructors, get out there, get out in front of it and start to offer, once this opens up, offer affordable training, offer, resources for these people to be able to get training quickly and learn and get them indoctrinated into it. But I think you're going to see a lot of these first-time buyers and first-time people convert quickly because this is really unique.
Yeah, I agree. At the tail end of this, people are going to be wanting to get out there, because they've seen it, firsthand, especially all the new gun owners. They're going to want to get that training in. At least I hope. That's what I like to say. At least I hope they do. It's not going to be everyone, but at least I hope they want to.
I think it's always the rule of a third. I think you'll see a third of the people start to toe into it a little bit and start to look at it. But I think you have to offer something that is willing to indoctrinate them into it, something simple that they can get their arms around and participate and not feel like they're being put down, because too much of our sport is about putting people down and making them feel badly about not knowing something and not understanding something. And Sean Burrows the other day said it, remember where you started, and take that mindset into this. And if someone's coming out to give you their money, don't just take their money. Understand that they're trying to learn.
I totally agree. Don't forget where you came from. Yeah, I see that far too, and I hear it all the time from my clients. I hear all the time.
Yeah,
they get bad thinking experiences with guys. They have bad taste.
It's just run your business like you want that person to come back. You want what we call a sticky client. You want someone who's not going to take one course, who's going to take 3, and you want someone who's going to participate and support what you're doing. I mean, you don't want your one and dones. You want people to come in and feel welcome. Like I was saying the other day to a very large instructor, I won't say his name, but I said, I think coming out of this, you have to offer something that gets a lot of those first-time buyers out and supporting what you're doing and supporting, the goals and learning and getting the basics. And, that might not be a $350 class. It might be something that's, specifically for first-time buyers, people, hey, come out and I'll teach you the basics. It might be, and, he said back to me, well, I don't want to do an 8-hour course for $150. I said, well, don't. Do a 3-hour one.
It's 2 hours. Yeah, I do a 2-hour lesson, 2-hour private lesson.
Yeah, treat it like a seminar. Be like, I'm doing a 3-hour seminar, and it's just to indoctrinate people into pistol, extend, touch, press, and understand the basics, a basic holster course. I said, don't miss out on that, because then that person's going to sign up for your 101 or something else. Get them in and get them out by lunchtime. But too many guys want to be like, oh no, we got to do a 10-hour hard hitter. It's got to be this, that. I'm like, I go to the gym for 30 minutes. Like, give me a break, But
I don't do that. I don't do open rope. I'm kind of a niche too. I only do private 1-on-1 or groups. I don't even do open enrollment.
Yeah,
in my business.
I think that's going to be the key. That's going to be the way to go. You mentioned doing some Muay Thai and being a little diversified. Do you feel that that's becoming the norm in the firearms business, where you can't just, you remember the old days, probably 10 years ago, I remember it, whereas I have a gun and I don't need any other training, but now guys are diversifying quite a bit. Do you feel like that's going to be the norm now going forward, especially your generation, your crop of instructors, that you have to have a little bit of everything?
Yeah, absolutely. And I see it now with guys in the industry, kind of my age, and, so it's important. I feel it's important to be diverse. I mean, because a weapon is not the end all be all. I'm a big proponent of utilizing the escalation of force, and self-defense is the first line. Gun isn't. So, you kind of have to reciprocate the same force that, your opponent's kind of giving back at you. Obviously, if someone has a weapon that wants to hurt you, use kind of in accordance of. But again, I think it's important to be broad and understanding all kind of ways of personal self-defense. And definitely, fighting is one of them. I use Muay Thai. You guys use, like yourself, Jiu-Jitsu. I think it's important to be well-versed,
Yeah, you have to have a little of it all now, and your generation of instructors coming in the last 2 years and probably for the next 100 years are going to preach that a lot. I know with a lot of guys it was just about the gun, and then blade defense came in, and now you're seeing guys with a lot more hand-to-hand stuff involved in their classes and in their teachings. I have to ask, you brought up instructors you like. Without naming names, are there any out there you can't stand?
Yeah, there's a few.
You just look at and you're like, dude, like, stop. I mean, you have to. I mean, I always pick on the shoot fast guys, and I don't name names. And the reason I do that, Travis, is, a lot of them don't give context, and you don't understand how many takes they took to do it. And it becomes one of those things that I'm hypercritical of, because I'm like, look, dude, shot timers are great and being a fast shot guy, but if that's going to be what you are, just go compete. Because then you compete against time and rounds. And it's easy to get caught up in that wormhole of being a shoot fast guy. When, the last 5 years in the business, we've seen a lot of those guys come in, sub 1 second draws and trying to be that guy. And you can sit there and drill and game that. That's gameable. I'm like, but that's not what it's about. It's not about that.
No, it's not. And that's where the flash comes in. And that's why I was talking earlier, that giving people the unrealistic kind of expectations and the image of the world, that the industry. And I don't get me wrong, shooting fast is very hard to do, but again, it's like that's what people see, and that's what kind of bothers me with some of the people I notice online. And they kind of put the bad taste in my mouth, and it's like, that's fine, but I don't like it.
Now, what's the biggest mistake you see people make in gear selection?
Like one piece of gear, or just in general? I feel like, honestly, in general, people they copy. Like what I mean by that is, like, they see something online that looks cool, and then they buy it without ever having any type of information on it. They'll see someone post about it or whatever, and it's like, oh, that looks cool, I'll just buy it. They don't do the follow up. There's so much gear out there nowadays. It's endless gear in terms of firearms. And there's a lot of good gear, and there's a lot of gear that's kind of not so good, just like with any industry. But I encourage people. My biggest thing with when it comes to gear is find what you want, what you need, that's realistic to what you're doing. Mm-hmm. Whether that just be training on the static range, or maybe you want something more, you're doing some more dynamic stuff that you need more advanced gear. But buy gear that's kind of realistic for you and your environment. Don't be going out and buying all this crazy, like you see 80 pounds of gear, and it's like, why did you even buy all that? Why did you go spend $2,000 on this optic, when you could only shoot on a 20-yard flat range? So it's like people, because the reason they did it is because they saw it online. They saw someone else using it, shooting fast, running and gunning, like, okay, I want that.
I always tell guys, start with what you have.
Yeah.
Work with what you got. And if it's, I don't care. Everyone's going to have a story about how they bought their first gun, or they bought their first piece of kit, or their first holster. Show up with what you have before you go and buy something. And then when you consult with a guy like you, or you spend some range time, you're going to figure out what you want really quick and what makes sense. And those guys will walk you through it. Do you need a high-speed gear belt the first day? No. Start with what you got. We all started there. And then slowly pick at what you feel is going to complement you the best. And don't get into buying $1,000 pieces of kit until you're prepared to, understand that piece of equipment, use that piece of equipment. The casual range goer who's taking one class a year doesn't need a $1,000 belt and a $2,000 plate carrier setup, because it can escalate quickly. You're not doing that type of training, It's just you're not
Totally
there.
agree.
Start with what you have, and if it's just a simple Kydex outside the waistband holster that you run through your dad belt, your basket weave belt, or whatever it is, and that's how you train, start there. That's fine.
That's all I tell my new shooters. That's why I said show with a belt holster and two magazine pouches. That's it.
I laugh to this
That's all you
day.
need.
When I showed up to Dom Rasso's low visibility class, I had like sweatpants on and a pair of flip flops, and there was guys in there with like Cry Precision from eyebrows down, and I looked around and Dom's like, "You got sneakers at least?" I'm like, "Of course I do in the truck," but like, I'm like, this was supposed to be a low vis class. I'm like, everybody's in here and Cry from the eyebrows down. It's but that's that's what some guys do. They like to put. I always joke they like to put the costume
mentality.
on. Yeah, they like to put the costume on. So I try to approach it from the standpoint of I overdo it on one side, but yeah, I mean I'm a t-shirt and jeans guy. I mean, if that's how because you don't want to ruin every pair of jeans. I get wearing some BDUs, but whatever. But you don't need 97 gussets in them and 14 pieces of pouches. I'm like I'm like, are we gonna do a drill that involves me using more than one or two mags? I'm like, I don't fucking need 97 magazines. It's just weight at that point.
Yeah, and even for me, like I don't train like that. I'm a former SEAL. Like I don't even when I go to train, I'm not wearing all that kit. I'm not dressed in my full nine like I was when I was an operator.
Of course,
I wear civilian clothes and a belt with a couple mag pouches on it.
Yeah.
I got a little bit more than most because I'm an instructor. But even when I'm out there having fun, I mean, I don't even wear my war belt. I just put stuff in my belt with Kydex holsters. I just have fun. So it's realistic, and that's what I'm going to be wearing. If something goes down, I'm probably going to be sitting on the toilet when something goes down. I'm not going to be fully kitted up, ready to go.
Yeah, and I'm a different animal because I have truck vaults and stuff. So I tell guys, like, if it's not in my truck vault and I show up to training and I don't have it, I'm probably not going to have it in real life. So I keep like one good rig in my, I think I have two rigs. I have a high-speed gear rig and a high-threat concealment rig. I'm like, if either of those rigs don't get it done, I'm good. That's pretty much where I'm at. I don't try to carry 9 million pieces of kit on me. I'm like, that's pretty much where I am, and that's
right.
That's kind of how I approach it. It's really simple. Work with what you got, and the rest becomes like a costume. And that's what I say all the time. I'll walk around like when Tony does his class, I'll say to some guy, "Oh, geez, you got the full costume on, huh? We're really doing it." I'm like, and they'll look at me and they're pissed. You know what I mean? They get that like, You're an asshole. I go, I'm not an asshole. I'm just telling you, it's 115 degrees out there. I'm like, it's going to get really hot and you're not going to want to have all that bullshit on. I'm like, trust me. And I'm like, take that off, take that. I'm like, trust. And they're like, well, you an instructor? I go, no, and this is a true story. I go, I'm not an instructor. I'm here to make sure you survive. So I'm not fucking pouring water down your throat 10 minutes in. I'm like, I'm just here to make sure you don't have heat stroke. I'm like, that's really the role I play here. I looked, it's a true story. You can ask, Ruben Alvarez this story. It's funny. He goes, one of the guys to this day tells that story of when you looked at him he goes, what do you do here? I'm here to make sure you make it through in one piece. So that's how I've always done it with guys I've helped on the range. I'm like, I'm not the guy who instructs you. I'm just here to make sure you don't collapse. So it's a lot of fun, and it's a thankless task what you're doing, and teaching really is a calling. Let all the listeners know where they can find you and how they can look you up and follow along or participate in any training.
Yeah, so you guys can find me at my website, Kennedy Defensive Solutions. You can find all the information on regards to training, and then on my social media, YouTube channels, all Kennedy Defensive Solutions. And then my Instagram is Travis Kennedy 267. That's where they can find all the information they want in regards to myself and what the company is about. And
what's the best way? Is it email or
the
DM?
best way? Yeah, the best way, they can email me. And I majority of the time is spent on my Instagram. So email me for information if you want to conduct training, and then as far as a lot of information where I post is all Instagram.
Now, if somebody coming out of this, I always ask, where the next place they can find you. We don't know where that's going to be, but are you going to be updating and updating your courses coming up, and as this kind of shakes out, letting people know how they can get training and where they can access you?
Absolutely. As this, obviously this issue we're going through, but I'll be updating everyone through all my channels.
Yeah.
hopefully once this subsides, I'm going to be accessible to the majority. I would like to. So, and that's the goal.
Yeah, stay on top of that. I know everyone will be looking for where they can hunt you down. Bro, I can't thank you enough. It was cool rapping with you the other day for a little bit of time, and today it's just a lot of fun just going back and forth and getting your input and insight into all this. And bro, I look forward to what you're doing. I think what you're doing is awesome. I think it's going to be a wild ride, this whole situation, and I think you're going to add a lot of value to the business over your time in it. And I appreciate you, and I appreciate what you're doing.
John, thank you for the time, man. Yeah, this has been a pleasure to be on your show, and it was fun talking.
Yeah, and look, I look up to all you guys in so many ways because it's really a thankless task to instruct, and I explain that to friends and people all the time in the business. You guys are the rock stars. You guys, I say all the time, if we were playing baseball, you guys would be millionaires. It really is. A calling, and what you guys do, you're the tip of the spear in the civilian world in terms of getting the knowledge and getting these folks queued up to understand what it is that the responsibility that they're taking on and what they could mean to their community. So it's not something I take lightly, and I appreciate everything that you guys do. And, know that the things I speak about and the opinions that I have, they're my own, and I just like to get a reflection of what you guys think, and I appreciate everything that you're doing out there.
Absolutely, man. Likewise, too, John. I appreciate you saying that.
Absolutely. It means a lot. And I can't thank you enough, and I appreciate the time. I want to thank all the sponsors. I want to thank everyone who participated, and some of the great brands that Travis works with and I've worked with in the past. Can't thank them enough for helping out. And go check out my website and his for some of those. I'll put Travis's link in my website. So it's Kennedy Defensive Solutions, and I'll look him up and put that link down below for everybody, and go check him out. And if you're in the SoCal, right? Yeah, SoCal. So if you're in that area, guys, go check him out. If you're a first-time gun buyer or someone just getting into it and you're in that area, come on, go give him a follow, go give him a look, and get some training. Don't just buy the gun and sit at home and say, put it in a box and just let it sit there. Go get a little training, get some one-on-ones, get some time with this guy on the range. And I appreciate you and appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, John, same, man. I appreciate it, brother.